Lagos State Government and the State Security Council have decided that the security and safety of lives of Lagosians are paramount. The rate of crime cited by motorcycles and tricycles keeps rising. Motorcycles and tricycles are also used as getaway means by criminals. Law enforcement agents have been directed that with effect from February 1, 2020, there will be zero tolerance for motorcycles and tricycles in and on the listed local governments, highways, and bridges. Members of the public are hereby notified that all offenders and violators will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
The government stance is clear without ambiguity. 1st of February, the state government swings into action, taking off defaulters of the directive. Some areas witnessed sanity from commercial motorcyclists and tricycle drivers. It's a long list of prohibited routes across 15 local governments in the state. The country's business capital, Lagos, has in recent times witnessed a swell in the presence of motorcycles and tricycles, which have become commuters' quick transportation option amidst long lines of horrific logjam across the state. The government's redirection of their mode of operation restricts them to inner streets. Bikes and tricycles are also not to be seen on 10 major bridges in the state.
The government should do something about it. If they want to stop the Marwa and the Okada, they should provide other means for us to get to our various destinations. They can't just stop something without giving us what we're going to use. I don't think it's right. You can see it's not easy. We've been here since morning and there's no bus. The buses that are coming, they are all calling Ikeja, and I'm going to Omole bus stop. They said they are not going there. That if I even want to go, I have to pay 200 naira, which we normally pay 100 naira. So it's not, I don't think it's right. The government should do something about it. It's not funny. You can see my son, we've been sweating, we've been here under the sun. You can see the crowd now, since morning. Well, they just like suffering the masses, and it's not fair. It's not fair.
Why Nigeria come be like this? Come drop me from my road. This is almost 2 hours I stand here and not see motor. If they want bring motor, make them organize it. Say they want bring motor. It's not like this to pursue Marwa, pursue Okada. We didn't see any motor now. How can I do? So I want go up but now, no motor.
Now, I buy market finish inside the Mandelas now. I used to take a bike within the rural area to TBS to go and enter BRT to Oshodi. Now, there's nothing to take me from inside market now to BRT side. Will I walk from here now to TBS? So there's many areas like that there's no motor or anything can pick unless Okada or Marwa for a little journey like that. Please consider the matter, please. We plead to our government, please. Consider many. It's not, if we are talking about that, Okada used to 4 people. It's plain enough, no used to drop. It's motor not used to have accidents. So everything have their own path. So help us consider the Okada and Marwa inside the area, please. That's our own. So this thing now is just stubbornness. I want to go and enter BRT now at CMS. Nothing to take me there. Will I walk from here now to that place now? I don't know how to do.
The government cites overcrowding and insecurity as reasons for the restriction, a move that could change the commute for thousands and threaten ride-hailing startups.
I want them to consider how many people is driving this Marwa. And to my own understanding, when they want to bring this Marwa in, from this our former governor, Buba Marwa, he named it NAPEP, National Poverty alleviation program. So he bring it to reduce poverty. So are they now increasing poverty for us? So if they want to stop Marua, they see that Marua is not good. It's causing accidents. Let them bring alternative for us. We will ride. We don't have option. Yes. That is Nigeria for you. We'll do whatever we see. We don't mind. We don't want to work in office. No, we don't mind working in the office. Let them bring alternative before they stop this one. By the time they stop this one now, look at this crowd here now. This is not even crowd. This is not crowd out of Marua operator. But look at the number of people here now. They are all driving Marua. Before you do something, you consider. Look, each local government, how many Marua do you have in each local government? We will have, in all Lagos State, we have more than 5 million Maruas. So you are telling 5 million people in Lagos to sit down at home. Or what do you want them to do?
The level of compliance is high on the first day of enforcement, but not without some defaulters. Protests erupt in some areas of the state. Commercial motorcyclists and tricycle riders storm the streets, demanding a reversal of the ban on major routes seen as the big deal.
Unlike other corporate company, we are a registered company and we are Okada riders. But the government have come now that with the decision that they want to ban motorcycle riders from the road. How can government do such kind of thing? We are registered and are licensed by the government. Why must government come now and turn us down? It's not good. We don't have job. This is the only job we have doing now. So let government give us our job back. That's what we are crying for.
We are not confronting them. It's a word of appeal because we are stakeholders. We are all citizens of this country and we are residents of this state. We appeal to Lagos State government to allow us to do our business. We are registered. We can be tracked. We have BVNs. We have national identity cards. We are duly registered. Before you join this company, there will be a lot of screening. And there will be police report backing you that this guy is cleared of all criminal activities.
Sandra is an OND graduate from the Department of Accountancy. She rides the bike to pay her bills.
I'm doing my IT now with GOKADA. By God's grace, I'm going back for my HND. This is what I know how to do best. I'm a professional rider by God's grace. No record of accidents. Government should regulate us, please, not ban us. We don't know what else to do. Our families are here. This is what we used to train our families. This is what I used to survive during my ND period. I'm not just new to GOKADA. I've been in GOKADA since last year. I used this to survive in my ND period. Please, the government should regulate us and not ban us. Please. We are pleading, please. Regulate us, don't ban us. This is what I know how to do best.
Ijora is in turmoil, but security agents are quick to restore sanity, taking charge with their arms after dispersing the protesters with tear gas.
This is my park. I do come all the way from Igbugbo down to this place every day, Monday to Saturday. They said we should all go home. Agreed. But what's the provision of the governor for people that are riding Keke Marua and even for the passengers? At least before you do something like that, you should have another alternative. No alternative, nothing for us. We have people to feed, we have people to cater for. Nobody, nothing is functioning now. We cannot even eat since that time because like somebody like me, I'm still paying on my keke. How am I going to pay my debts? Almost 400,000. How will I pay? Some people even got their own that same week they banned us. How are they going to survive? And they said we should not steal, we should not do evil things. Is it not the foundation of evil? This one that the government do. Is it not the foundation of evil? So I just want to ask them, What are we going to do? What's going to be the solution? Are we going to fold our hands like this and look at the government destroy our lives? Because I can say, is destroying our lives. Because somebody like me that is still owing for over almost 400,000, how will I pay when I don't have another work to do? This is the only work. This is the only work I'm doing. And most of us are graduates. We are learned. We are not illiterate. Now that at least they don't give us, they didn't give us job. They didn't provide job for us. We even strike to provide for ourselves. And another thing is that they now cut the source off now. So at least it should employ some of us. It should feed us now. We have families. I have agent parents to cater for. I have my children. My husband has lost his job. I lost my job also. That's why I joined this. I have a shop. Ambode destroyed the shop. Now, the Okada, the Kekemarwa that I'm using to manage, the governor said they should not. So where will I go to? How am I going to survive?
Realistically, based on how things is, the government, the decision is not really realistic. That is what I feel, because people are suffering, transporters as well, people like me that are trying to make ends meet. But this is what I do. I got this just to manage myself, because I'm a student. I dropped out as a sort of financial challenges. So I just got to cycle 4 months ago just to make ends meet. So it's not really going well for me. And looking at people standing here, I don't think they are actually happy. Passengers are actually suffering. Some are trekking from here to AKEEM, and many people are going to their working place very late. So and other riders as well, which that are here, I don't think things are actually working well for them. So I believe the decision right now the government is taking is actually affecting the people negatively.
According to the government, about 65 buses have been added to the fleet of the BRT scheme.
From when we deployed the buses in the morning, it's really helped people to move around. We've been able to record about 10,000 in terms of ridership just within the AM period. And from our projection, these 65 buses will be able to carry about 35,000 people on a daily basis when the operation becomes fully stabilized. Now, in terms of the routes that the buses will be deployed on, there are 7 routes that will be used. We'll start from Dezoshodi to Aja as one of the routes. You also have from Inner Marina to Aja. You've got from Obalende to Aja, and of course CMS to Aja. Now, addressing the challenge in Ikeja, you have moving from Ikeja to Ojota, and then from Ikeja to Ogba. You also have from Ogba to Ojota. We, of course, recognize the fact that some of the big buses cannot go on the feeder roads. So the plan is to inject smaller buses, medium capacity buses, like we call them, that can carry about 30 people. All right. So those mini buses will be deployed on the feeder roads.
The Lagos State Road Traffic Law 2012, signed off by the administration of Babatunde Fashola, lists highways and roads that motorcycles are prohibited from. According to the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, GBENGA OMOTOSO, the new ban is in compliance with the Extant Transport Sector Reform Laws 2018, traceable to the State Road Traffic Law 2012.
We're rolling out buses. We have some buses in our depot which we would get out. So in areas where we're facing out Okada as well as Keke Napep, would roll out more buses and ensure that our people are adequately served. So we've looked into that. The key point here is that we need to make transportation safe.
In the wake of the enforcement of motorcycle and tricycle restriction, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo Olu inaugurates 8 new locally made boats in government's efforts to enhance water transportation across the state.
We're unveiling this service for the use of Lagosians and to be able to commune our people from this place and from all the other terminals that have been identified by Lag Ferry. Thank you very much. Thank you. The wonderful logo.
I have to pick myself back up. And when
Thank you. Thank you once again.
Traffic management and transportation seem to be the major pillar of the government's agenda.
Water transportation is one of the internodal transportation tripods we are committed to developing as a strategy to reduce congestion on our roads, which accounts for over 90% of people commuting in Lagos. It is glaring that for Lagos to be functional and to become a smart city that we all desire, there must be a diversification of the mode of transportation. There must be interconnectivity of rail, of road, and water transportation system. However, the narrative of water transportation in Lagos is set to change as we are set to take full advantage of the water bodies that the Almighty God has given us, to decongest our roads and to substantially reduce our traffic time and the journey time on the road. And of course, to promote a healthy environment through the reduction of carbon emission. I think that's one major component that the transportation, especially the water transportation system, is going to be affording us. Let me also emphasize that these boats were constructed here by our local builders, and they come with state-of-the-art technology that we can find anywhere in the world. I think for me, that is also a major plus for us.
About 40 to 60 passengers would be taken off the traffic-congested roads by the ferry boats from Ikorodu, Ebutero, CMS, Badore, and Ikoyi, among other routes.
The ferries we're launching today have different capacity, from 80 to 60 to 40 to 25, so that it can cater for different needs. If the traffic need is 25, we don't need to wait for 80 passengers or 60 passengers before they drop the anchor and it takes off. But if the pressure is also to carry 60 people, we will not use the 25 passengers to do that. We want to move people timely, we want to move them safely, we want to get them to their destination quicker and faster, and that's why you could see that we have spread the capacity so that it can meet various needs of our people at different time and scheduling of the day.
Data shows that Lagos roads account for over 90% of commuting public, and in achieving a functional smart city, the government insists on the diversification of the mode of transportation, but not with the sight of the motorcycles and tricycles.
It's true, there's been very tough decisions that we've also made regarding the restriction of the means of transportation in Lagos State. But I want to say some facts, and people can go and debate it. The restriction that we've done, that we continue to emphasize, is primarily based on security of life. It's based on safety of life. It's based on the level of danger that we've seen that has happened to our people. And as a responsible government, we will not fold our arms. One life is more important to us than millions that can happen. But we understand that investments too can be critical, but life for us is more germane. So I can go on and on and on and on to explain that as a government, we certainly cannot fold our arms. We will need to take tough decisions, but we also need to ensure that we provide succor. And what LASG Ferry is doing today, all the commitments we're giving here today is part of the succor that we're committing to.
The government says over 10,000 motorcycle accident cases were recorded at the general hospitals from 2016 to 2019, with about 600 deaths.
We value the life of Lagosians. Every Lagosian is important to us, and you just need to go to the family of those who are affected and see what the impact, the devastating impact of what OKADA have done to these families, and we have to put a stop to it. So we need to restrict them. We need to ensure that we have control of what's happening in Lagos State. There are alternatives, and the Lagos State had embarked on the bus reform, so there are more buses that the Lagos State has rolled out and will continue to roll out. In fact, we have about 600 buses in with customs, which we will get out very soon, and then we'll roll them out. In the next 1 week, we are launching 14 ferries on water transport, and we would be linking those with the bus reform. And very soon also, the private sector will join us in bringing more buses into Lagos. So, and one thing I find strange is that people in Lagos don't want to walk anymore. I remember when I was a young boy, I used to walk to school and I walked back. We used to be very fit, but a lot of people want bus stops in front of their backyard, or should I say their doorstep. But we want to encourage people to walk also. So most of the constructions that we're doing includes pedestrian walkways. So we want people to walk. We want them to cycle. So we want to encourage non-motorized transportation in Lagos.
Nigeria's Minister of Works and Housing and a two-time governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, concentrates talks on the security challenges in the country, giving kudos to the enforcement of the 2012 Lagos traffic laws.
I want you to go back and recollect those early days when the order of the day here was 2 to 3 bank robberies every week. Remember that period, 2007. The favorite getaway vehicle was motorcycles. I remember one robbery incident on Ikorodu Road where a young medical doctor was killed. As police was coming, the motorcycle just jumped to the other lane against traffic and they escaped. So for those of you who are concerned about security, get behind your governor in Lagos State on this decision that he has taken. I do not dismiss the concerns that have been raised on the other side. But the point must be made that is a trade-off between our inconvenience and our existence. Do you want to be a victim? Because if you walk a few kilometers extra, and that shouldn't be the case, but you will still likely be alive. I know that work is going on the trains. I know that ferry lines are being restored. I know it will take some time. As a center of excellence, motorcycles cannot be our preferred choice of travel. It can't be. So we should see taxes return. And one of my recommendations is to go back to what we did with the taxis. The taxi unions are very strong. I'm sure government is already thinking about it. Government can use its financial balance sheet to guarantee them loans to acquire new taxis and roll them out while the buses are coming, ferries are coming, and so on and so forth.